Hey, third grade. So yeah, miraculously we found 10 worms. We know that wasn't miraculous. I dug them out of my compost. But one thing we need to do for if you're doing changes in temperature or changes in amount of water, no matter what, we have to feed the worms. Okay, so before we start setting up or continuing our setup with other conditions, we have to feed our worms. So you'll see here, I've got chopped up green beans, strawberries, apples, just a few things, be it apple core, just started to go bad. And I just top them up small. Then you want to mix it up evenly throughout the soil. And then I'll continue this video for each of your separate setups if you're doing temperature or amount of water. Hi, third grade. So right now I'm setting up the experiment if there's too much water. We might even have an area where there's not enough water, and we want to see how this affects the behavior of the worms, again, changing their environment. So I'm going to show you my setup. Okay, and again, you're more than welcome to try something similar at home. So I've got this bucket, it's a little bit smaller than the other one, and I drilled a whole bunch of holes in it. That's so that the worms, if they want to, they can travel through those holes. So I have all my worms sitting in the soil here, and you can see a few are already trying to get away because they're not too happy. They don't like to be out here in the sun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move a bunch of this soil into the other container. Okay. And the way I'm going to set this up, we'll see if this works. Again, sometimes experiments are just trial and error. And I'll leave some soil still down in here as well. Okay, I'm going to move some more over. Now the soil has already had a little bit of water mixed in with it, and it's also had some food mixed in so that the worms will have something to eat. We're not testing food, okay, or temperature with them right now. So what we're going to be testing is the amount of water that they get. So what I'm going to do now is take about half of the worms. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like 6 fell in there. And I'm going to put the others up here. 1, 2, 3. Get the one that's trying to get away. 4. Yep, 5, 6. I thought I started with 10, but who knows? Maybe some was already in the soil I didn't realize before. Oh, this guy crawled in the bag. Okay, so I got 6 at the top. Let's see. Double check again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top. Okay, so I've got 11. All right. So I'm going to place this one on top like that. And I'm just going to put a little bit more water here, but I'm going to put a lot more water underneath. So if the worms are not happy, they have the ability to travel up to an area that's not as wet, or travel down to an area that is more wet. So that's how we're going to test to see how they feel about amount of water. So again, some of you said we should check them every hour. I don't know that that allows enough time for them to react or respond. Also, I'm not sure if you'd like someone checking on you every hour. I don't know, maybe you would. But, you know, they might find it just a little annoying. So we'll check after 1 day. We can even check after 3 days, I think. But we'll start with checking after 1 day, and if we don't see much change, let's give it 3 days. So again, doing some experiments, there's a little trial and error to see what works, what setup works best. But I think if we waited a whole week, you know, we'll definitely have results, but we could have probably had results sooner. So I know I gave you those options, and it's not about having a right or wrong answer, but we learned from it, okay? And so we'll check on these guys again in a day, and if we don't see much change, we wait 3 days. All right, so signing off for now, and we'll check on them again in a few days. So there's a second way of setting up our experiment with testing the amount of water. So if you didn't have a second container that you could drill holes in, or the ability to poke the holes, here's another way to set up the same experiment. So what I've done here is I have the same size bucket same bucket. But I made this aluminum foil boat, we'll say, this container of aluminum foil. And what I'm going to do is put all dry soil in here and then only add water to this side. Now, I did get myself some fresh worms because I think the others have been probably stressed out from the experiments. So I got some fresh worms. We'll count them out. And we'll place them right in the center, and then they can choose where they want to go. So let me go get some fresh dry soil, and I'll start filming again when I put the worms on top. Okay, so here we go. I've got soil. You can see the aluminum thing underneath. So I've got soil on both. I did want this to go up over the edge so the worms could decide to go up and over. But the only thing is, there's still no food in here. So I do have some lettuce items that were starting to go bad in my kitchen. And so I'm mixing the food in. But again, that wouldn't be fair if I only had it on one side. So I have to make sure I mix them in on the other side as well. So we're not testing food, so we have to make sure they are fed. We're testing the amount of water. Okay, so we do have to make sure there's some food in here on both sides. Okay. And then we're going to place our worms right in the center. But let's count out how many worms I've got. Sometimes that's hard to do. Let's see, 1, 2, wow, okay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got some small ones in there this time. 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to get one more. 10. Okay. All right. Now, this, I will admit, the soil's not totally dry, partly because it rained last night. But I'm doing my best setting up this experiment. And I'm going to add a little more water on this side only. Now, I don't want to add too much. I don't want to make it flooding, but I do want them to choose between one side that's going to be a little bit drier and one side that's going to be a little wetter. And we'll see what they choose. Like I've mentioned another time in the video, checking every hour probably is not the way we're going to go. But in a day, and if we don't see much change, whatever, we can check again in 3 days. We could also give it longer so one side could dry out and see if there's any changes that we see. Anyway, signing off for now. And if you guys are more than welcome to set up an experiment at home and share your results.